We'll start with the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. Miami with a little bit of an upset over Ohio State, 24-14. Bo, what you got on this one?
Man, I tell you, you want a master class in line of scrimmage play and how line of scrimmage is so critical. That was it. Mario Cristobal and Miami absolutely just took Ohio State's manhood at the line of scrimmage, and that you know sometimes you just go you run up against a matchup where they're just bigger and better. And that's just what we have there. I mean, there were areas where Ohio State had a much better team, I thought. But on the lines of scrimmage where it really counts, Miami was just superior at the point of attack. What was amazing to me was how they just Miami, those two ends, Mesidor and Bain, just abused those tackles. And I talked about that going in, and I know I got some hate for that, our Ohio State Big Ten brethren out there. I know it's hard to get called on our faults. Believe me, because we're going to get into that, guys. But those two defensive ends just ransacked that offensive line, and it wasn't even close. The amazing thing to me is Bain would line up so wide, and they would try to chip him with a tight end. He would just run through the tight end and then run around the tackle and then get to Sagan before he's even gotten through one progression. I mean, it was phenomenal. And I would like to say one other thing about go back to Texas A&M. There were so many people. Oh, Texas A&M doesn't deserve to be in because they lost to Miami. They shouldn't have got in. That is such a lazy, awful argument. They absolutely deserve to get in. They played their way into that tournament. But just like Ohio State, they ran up against a team that had their kryptonite. And that's what, when you get to this point of the season, that's what it's all about. It's can your best beat their best? And Miami had all the answers. Even when Ohio State had that surge in the second half, Miami, how did they do it? They did it with their defense. They got the sacks. They got the stops. They kept the field position in their favor. And they had a phenomenal drive at the end. And one last thing, Carson Beck. That guy was throwing his body around like it was the last game he was ever going to play in his life. Big tip of the cap. He only threw for about, what, $130? But that's all he needed.
$138.
Take care of the football, get in and out of the right plays, get in and out of the right protections, and let your team around you work. And he put his shoulder down. There was one play. He ran over a defensive back and then ran through another one. It was like a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 11. Ran right over two defensive backs basically at the sticks to pick up the yardage. And I was like, man, you can say whatever you want about his mess ups, about his shortcomings. That kid's got a lot of heart. And they are going to be a tough out in these next two games.
Yeah.
For
and
the
I'm glad